Welcome to the AR-15 podcast. This show is for you if you just bought your first AR or if you've been building them for years. There is something we can all do to take our black rifles to the next level. My name is Nick Dooley. I am joined tonight by the Director of Propaganda, Joe.
What's going on, guys?
Yep, and if you saw any of our social medias this week, Garth could not join us this week, but he is here in spirit, and we saw his short video he made, so we've got that going, and yeah, we are rolling through, and sorry we missed last week. We had some stuff pop up, so those things happen, and we are here, and we are live for you, gentle listener. So, Joe, have you done anything interesting or neat in the last couple weeks?
I filed a bunch of paperwork and got my fingers printed, and I'm just waiting and ordered a whole bunch of parts. So that will be coming soon, hopefully. Based on some previous wait times, hopefully within the next week or so, we can document the rest of that build and hit the range with it and show everybody what we've been teasing, or a little bit of teasing, I guess.
Yep. And also we did do that. We did some paperwork on stuff, and that'll be a surprise that comes later.
I should check and see if my fingerprints made it to
where they needed to go.
Yeah, they were supposed to get there today, but last time I checked, I mean, if you track anything through the post office, it could show up tomorrow or in 3 months.
This is true.
Let's see where we're at. I'm still moving through. Yeah, no idea where it's at. Hopefully it gets there tomorrow. Or, I guess Monday's okay, because not necessarily gets there, but gets approved, because I'll be gone all weekend. I won't be able to do anything anyways.
Yep, that is what one can hope. And I went out and was playing with some stuff. And no, Jockitch, if you missed the intro, we do not have any Garth tonight. He could not make it again this week, but well, he's here in spirit. So I did a little bit of some interesting and fun stuff in the past couple weeks, just because, well, we did miss SHOT Show, and I saw a couple neat things that we might be talking about later come from that. One of the coolest ones, our friends over at Matador Arms teamed up with the gang at Stuffin' Things for, I don't know if you want to call it the Stizon, however you want to say it, but they made a, like they obviously have their Mat 9 upper, and they made a lower that would work with their Bison mags that Stuffin' Things is making. So that is, that's pretty rad, just because it's something new and different, and helical mags are cool. Like, they're weird, but they're also kind of cool. Yeah, the Stizar, there you go, as AR Drew says. I believe on We Like Shooting, they're also talking about it and said they should call it the Lawgiver. From Judge Dredd. And also joining us in the chat tonight, we have our newest sponsor of the channel, everyone, Klecker Tactical. So be looking forward to my subtle ad read on that later. But as those keep going through, I went to the range last week, and we did some rifle drills. I was out with a couple of our friends and guy from the local PD here, and we were doing some pistol drills, a lot of movement drills, and some carbine drills as well. So we went out and put I was putting the BRN 180 through its paces. And in saying that, I did make some changes to it after I got back from that range trip. There was a handful of things I went through that, because I did pull it off of the lower it was on and put it on the Stealth Arms folding lower, because I had just a standard lower on it with a folding brace with a 1913 adapter. And that brace had a really weird recoil impulse that you could, when you were braced with it, it would kind of flex a little bit because it was made of polymer. And I did not enjoy that. So I put it onto a standard, kind of a standard buffer tube with an SBA 5. And that, my friends, really, really helped that little build along. And the Fat Cat really impressed everyone because it has a very unique tone. It's not so much that it makes everything super quiet, but where a lot of cans have kind of a higher pitched, pop or first round pop or crack, this kept everything a lot more on the low end and more pleasant to the ear because of how that expanded. And then of course I took my go to war rifle as well and did some carbine work with it and just reminded how much I love that rifle.
Did you notice with that Fat Cat being that it's that shorter, wider, or more girth suppressor, did you notice any balance difference as opposed to a regular longer can?
I didn't. The volume's about the same as like a longer can. So with the way that worked out, and on the build it's on, it is so because it's on a 10.5-inch gun.
Yep.
So
What's
that?
What's it weigh? Like the can itself? I'm assuming is it quite a bit lighter than a standard, say, 7 or 8-inch can?
Well, just a second, I happen to have a postal scale here and the can.
I'm just wondering, like, balance wise and being shorter, even if it did weigh more, it would still probably balance okay due to the center of gravity not being elongated.
Yep. And as I furiously reach for things here, I actually have a turbo and the Fat Cat here. So all right. So for anyone watching and watching this live, now that we had that awkward silence come through, I will show for the difference. Like this is the Fat Cat, and you can see the Fat Cat's kind of unique because it has, I'm going to call that an 1.5 OD to start with. OD is outer diameter, and then it bells out to about 2 inches or 2.5, where it goes out and just it makes it a little bit bigger, and then it has, of course, I got the one with the lovely.
You can't really see it. I'm not sure how well it's going to look. Go check our Instagram. You can see a nice, good picture of it there.
Yep. But all right, so
on the kitty.
So the Fat Cat weighs 13.2 ounces. It is an all steel can, so it is a little heavier. And then a standard Yankee Hill Turbo. This is actually a Turbo T1. Is 13.5 ounces.
So about the same weight, just a little bit shorter.
Yep. And so if you look, like you can see, it's a solid, like there's a distinct difference on how thick that is for the width at the bell end, as I'm going to call it.
I need to get out and see that with you, actually, at the range one of these days, one of these weekends when we're not on the other sides of the state.
Yeah, doing crazy things and going through with that. But no, and it is I have a legitimate postal meter here. not a drug scale. It's not that fine. But no, so that was running those through. That was definitely was interesting. The other thing that I found out that was probably the most interesting was going to that other folding lower and going for, or with that shield arms lower, it really brought up one thing that was kind of amazing to me. It is actually shorter now when it's folded than it was with an SB folding 1913 brace and the 1913 adapter by an inch. So that folding stuff built into that lower made it shorter folded, but the length of pull is longer. Which I found absolutely wonderful because it makes it really easy to fit in my rifle pack. So I can drop that into my bed or into my like Eberly stock with the long rifle part folded where it's just the length of the backpack. And
would that fit in a standard full size pickup center console? I mean,
well,
probably depends on
we can see if we get kicked off of YouTube for this. But actually I know it's 22 inches from the tip of the muzzle device to the folded portion. So
okay.
But that is I will say I also do like the muzzle device of the Fat Cat more. I'm going to be switching everything to that SRX. But you can see how short this is. Let's see, let me get it. I'm going to get it in camera here because apparently I'm stupid.
Yeah, that's definitely
I mean, it's about the size of my forearm and hand.
Yeah, but as we found out when we were in Georgia, you're like some sort of giant.
Yeah, so, I don't understand.
Comparing anything to your body appendages is probably not fair.
Yeah, Dr. Scary Guy commented, I don't want to give up my Phantom mounts. And I agree because I have quite a few of them as well. But that SRX system does make this just really nice.
Well, like you said, fold it up nice and short. And then with that short suppressor, definitely if you're looking for concealment or just less or finding a way to store that rifles in a smaller spot, it's a pretty sweet combo.
Yeah, and it's even for just like if you live in an apartment and don't want to be seen carrying like gun cases and gun bags in, like a little bit more discretion.
Put in a briefcase or
yeah, like that's something you can like you could easily put that in a gym bag.
Can we I'm gonna find a briefcase and we're gonna modify a briefcase for that thing just to take to the range and see if we can't get it to fire inside a briefcase.
I mean, I dig it.
I think that'd be pretty cool.
Yes. Do the James Bond briefcase gun.
Yeah. I think that'd be fun. But yeah, that's definitely pretty cool that you, like you said, you went up to the range, made a change, and then found out, hey, I like this a lot more. So, and then that's one of the cool things about the AR platform or anything like the BRNs are based off of that. You can make changes whenever you want, however you want. And like they make the joke, it's just Legos for adults, which is, in my opinion, awesome.
Yeah, and that is definitely one of the super cool things about it is like, yeah, I can definitely do all these things and have it work. And then part of this is us working back and forth on what we have and what we don't and figuring out the best possible build. And it's that learning experience, and that's part of why I love working with the AR so much, is just building a better system.
Oh, and I haven't discussed it so much on here, but I discussed it with you and Garth with the AR versus AK podcast that you sat in on. That's one of the things I think that is a win for the AR is, yeah, you might be able to go buy a junk AR for $300, but if that's all you have to get yourself an AR-15, and then you can be like, all right, what's the next cheapest part that I can upgrade? And you continuously do that, you can slowly build yourself into a great rifle with being able to just spend that money. Whereas if you buy a $300 AK, you always have a $300 AK. If you buy a $2,500 AK, it's always a $2,500 AK. You don't have the options to just be, hey, I got a bonus this week, or grandma sent me some money for my birthday. I can go buy a new trigger. I can go buy a new bolt, whatever I need.
Yep.
So,
and in the comments, Klecker was talking about Eberly stock makes a good gun bag with extended pockets.
They make a lot of good
bags. I love Eberly stock. I'm a poster child for them, I think. I only have
got like 6 of them probably between you and the wife.
I'm counting. Only 5.
Oh, I missed it. Yeah, they make good product though.
Yeah, because the wife is not as big a fan of them as I am, and I have their big Hercules rolling duffel that like I've packed everything I needed, more than everything I needed for a rifle class in that, and then done that. Like I took that when we went to our school. That's the bag I took. I've got 2 of their, I've got a frame, like an actual solid frame pack from them, and then they call it their Gossamer frame, which is also a rifle pack, but it doesn't really have a frame. And then like an EDC bag as well, and a fanny pack.
Was that what you were using when you were rucking down in Arizona?
No, that was a different branded one. I didn't bring that with. No, but no, those are just some great options. And it was, like we were playing with it. We were doing some experiments and found some events that we might try and go to. We haven't made up our mind yet on one of them because Brownells has a 2-gun and they call it the Gunfighter Gauntlet. And that sounds like a lot of fun to me.
I like the idea of those. I've always wanted to do. It's a biathlon is what it is. I don't even call it biathlon when it's a 2-gun, but it's
real work. Tactical games, but less CrossFit, more shoot.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. If I sent you a text, like I got some stuff going on that week. Hopefully I can make it work, or I can change the other stuff around and get to that. I think that'd be a lot of fun. That one, unfortunately, I have annual training for the other one that I've always wanted to get to, and that's the
zombie match.
Nope. Looking at biathlon type stuff. The Big Bend Dash, I think it is, out in Colorado, which I always thought would be fun to be a lot like that. But it's, again, like you said, tactical games is cool, but they almost, in my opinion, from what I've seen and what I know, focus more on the fitness than the shooting. Because, a guy like you can throw a 100-pound bag of sand over something a lot easier than a guy like I can. And it's like they push that physical extreme where they don't, and I don't know the rules. I haven't paid enough attention to the scoring, but it almost feels like the shooting, if you can do the physical stuff, you just have to be a mediocre shooter. And I'm looking for something that, push me physically, so the point where my heartbeat gets up, I get fatigued, but still focus on how well you can shoot in that time frame or in that situation. Because I've always made the joke and told people with the Army PT test or the Army qualification standards, I'm like, I think the PT test should start like you got to be asleep in a Humvee with a dip in and like 3 rippets deep. And then we flip it over, and then you got to do the PT test. And at the end of the PT test, then you got to shoot your qualification rounds, because that's real shit. But people look at me like I'm crazy when I tell them that, and they don't put it in the AR.
Well, they looked at me like I was crazy when I said, "Hey, they made this PT test for me."
They did.
No, so that was what we did, and that was our random off-topic chatter. But tonight we actually do have a topic, and this one might be, some people would think it controversial. Anybody who doesn't would know that this is something that a lot of people have looked at and thought about. And like, I know I have friends of mine who, I'm not going to say struggle with this, but have asked me when this is the right thing to do it. And that is, when is it the right time to start start working with your kids or start shooting with them, and then like what training goes where?
I'll go first. As soon as the kid can comprehend what you're telling them and understand what's going on, because the sooner you can introduce them to something, whether it's firearms, hockey, get a kid on skates, get a kid to like understand what's going on, wrestling. If you get, the younger you can introduce them to something, the better they're going to understand it and the more respect they're going to have for it. I grew up, I was shooting, I mean, trying to remember what year anything happened, but before I was in kindergarten, easily, I'm not going to say proficient, but I knew how to operate a firearm. Marlin 1022 is what I started with. I grew up coon hunting. I can remember at 4 years old, my mom made me mad. My dad was out hunting down behind the house. I walked out to the crop line, walked it until I was perpendicular to where the dogs were, walked in. My dad looked down and went, "What in the hell are you doing here?" But that was what I was shooting animals at a very young age because that's what we did. It's, the sooner you can introduce a kid and get them to respect it and get them to know what it is, and that's going to all be dependent on the child, is know what level maturity your child is at. If they're not, it might not be until they're in junior high. It might be, as soon as they can. I can remember one time, my dad, me and my brother used to walk up and down. We had a creek behind our house. We used to walk up and down it all winter long, and my dad had leg traps, and let's stick them in front of these holes. We didn't know what was going on. Go out the next day. Oh, cool. We caught a skunk. Waited for dad to get home. Like, hey, we got to go shoot this. And he's like, why didn't you just take and do it? I'm like, well, mom wouldn't let me take the gun out of the house. He's like, oh, so that's when we just started leaving guns in the sheds. And mom didn't know what we were doing after that. But we had been taught from a young age. I mean,
yeah, well, we've talked about this before in the past. I know you and I have. And Dr. Scary Guy says that he emotionally scarred his nephew by having him shoot a, quote, battle-damaged He-Man, end quote, with a BB gun and telling him he killed He-Man when the chest plate rolled over. And
why would you do that? Why would you kill He-Man?
I don't know, but AR Drew says
enemy of all men. Like, there's no way that body is not obtainable.
Yeah, sure. And AR Drew says, I don't think you should be around children, and I think it's for different reasons than having them shoot He-Man. But as I grew up in much the same manner. Like, I know that I was probably 5 or under when I started shooting, and I was shooting a pump action 22. And we didn't have, like, when I was growing up, it wasn't until I was in high school that I started shooting semi-automatics. And
I mean, like I said, I had a 10-22. I mean, it's a semi-automatic, but is it?
Yeah, well, no, it's just I grew up very much so in the.
We grew up very, very similar. Other than I didn't have a farm and cattle, and
we were hardcore cowboys, and it was lever guns and a couple bolt guns, and that was what we had. And I remember going up to those, and it was very much so a thing for me to have, like, okay, yep, we grabbed that pump action 22, which was just the 22 we had, and we shot around. We would go out and shoot, and then most of my hunting I did when I was like 6 to 7 was I would go out rabbit hunting all the time and come back with rabbits, but I was using the old 10 pump BB gun. And I don't know why 10 was the magic number.
Because that was a nice round number. I remember that. It was the Crossman 7600.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yep, that. Buddy of mine, some friends of ours, family friends, they had the A2 pellet gun. I ever saw that thing. It was crazy. It was an A2 clone. Basically, it was a one pump, but it was the regular, like the same
Daisy power line as well.
It was the same BBs you would shoot out of the Red Ryder, the one
Yep.
cock. So it was crazy. And I can remember, like, again, we didn't grow up with a lot of money, and we would, like you said, that Crossman 7600, we would sit in the gravel and find the right size rocks, little rocks, grains of sand that would fit through the barrel, and shoot them out of the thing instead of BBs, because we wasted all the BBs in like the first hour we had them. But that's that's what taught us how to hunt. That's what taught us firearm safety and respect for for the weapons. At a very young age, like, our go-to hunting rifle that we had when we were coon hunting was a Savage Predator in 2220. So it was a 22. It was a double barrel. If you're not familiar with the Savage Predator, it's a rifle on top with a smooth bore shotgun on the bottom, and you can get it in all kinds of configurations. We had a 22 20 gauge. It was break action, hammer, and you flip the switch. And I walked up and down that creek for, I couldn't even tell you how many miles I probably put on, but especially in the spring when the blackbirds came down or were moving again, you walk up and down shooting them until you forget which cylinder or which chamber you've got it on, and you are expecting a 22 and 20 gauge goes off. That's a little much.
So
but
Clucker commented one thing, and I think this is also something, a generational thing of oh yeah, I remember the two pump limit, and then one a-hole would go to 5, and then everybody went to 10, and you turn around and
I shot my brother. I shot my brother with ours, and I only pumped it like 3 times. And I bet I was a good 50 yards away. He'd pissed me off. He was going in the house, and I was standing by our lilac bushes. I drilled him right in the ass and lost my rifle, my BB gun privileges for like a month. And I didn't expect it to get that far. And the little brat, like, I know it didn't hurt. I know what he could take, because I beat the hell out of him a lot of times, and it didn't phase him. The fact that he was hurt by that BB, oh, I was so pissed.
no, but that was, that's also one of those. It's like, oh, can you believe they let guns and had that? It's like, yeah, that was boys being boys in the 80s. And
I had a really good friend in elementary school that lost a tooth because they were being stupid and shooting at it, playing that same game, and he took one right to the tooth.
We have a co-host who has a BB in his eye because of that game.
He also has bullet holes behind his clock. So
yeah. And no, but that was those were things where we go through that. I know that earlier ready.com said you bring kids into it when they start to show interest.
Yep.
And I will also say that I'm going to say yes to shooting, but to education. So again, it's no secret that I have, I am married with a wife and a child, and I've talked about them both many times on this. And like when my daughter was born, when she was going through and she was reading books, and like we had like my friend the Pew Pew Jew Yehuda, had the ABCs of gun safety, and I have that book, and now he made it into a coloring book as well. I have another one where it's how to talking to your kids, and it was drawn by a child, like the illustrations were on like talking to your dad about guns.
Is that like talk to your cat about gun safety?
No, that's like this one actually was good because they're talking about like what bullets do, and the kid drew the pictures of it.
And I agree. It's when the kids when they show interest, but they also need to know if they have never shown interest. You don't play with these because all of a sudden curiosity strikes when nobody's around. Like, whether or not they're interested, they need to know, hey, it's the same thing as, you talk about common sense, and everybody acts like common sense is a foregone thing, when in reality, no, we've just met that cycle, that cycle that says tough times make hard men make easy times make soft men, all in that cycle. You common sense is only common sense because either A, someone told you not to do it, or B, you did it and found out.
You
Like,
learned the hard
how do
way.
I know not to put my hand on the red hot cast iron? Enough people told me not to do it, or B, I did it and I burned myself. So if they don't know not to do it, they're gonna play with it, and it may sound like common sense, but it's not because they don't know any better if you haven't told them.
Yeah, and
And
that's one of those things where, like, with my daughter, she is completely demystified by firearms.
because I'm pretty sure she was teething on a Beretta.
I mean, no, like I like we make jokes about testing the mouthfeel of guns, but I don't think it should be for toddlers. Um, but no, it's one of those where they've been such an omnipresent part of her life, just in the house or me working on them, where she looks at it as anybody else would look at, like, oh, that's just dad's keyboard for work when he does what he does from home. She looks that way at firearms.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been demystified, and we've talked to her. Like, she built her own rifle before she was 10.
Yeah,
And
if they know what it is, the curiosity's not there. Like Greg's curiosity killed the cat. Yeah, kids don't know what it is. They find a firearm in your nightstand or wherever you're keeping your firearm for your pistol for home defense. If they don't know what it is, they're gonna play with it. They're kids. I mean, I can't even tell you the stuff that I found in my parents' bedrooms that I don't need to ever think about again. But it was never the fact that, oh, hey, I found the pistol. You're like, that doesn't bother me because I've already played with it. Like, that's the thing. Like, if they don't know what it is, they're gonna mess around with it. If you know what it is, and so that curiosity is already gone, you're gonna be like, "Meh, what's next?"
yeah, and that's where again, that's, I think, let's see here. Dusky says we all learn things in different ways. You just have to be aware and know what they're capable of, and how they will react, and what they're ready to handle physically and mentally. And that's true. Like, I remember when my daughter first started to talk to me about, like, oh no, I want to go shoot. Like, we went out and we got her little cricket out, then we went to go out, and she grabbed it and was, trying to carry it around like a little soldier. And we went out, and she wouldn't focus on shooting the target. It was, she wanted to be involved in what we were doing, not so much on shooting. So, it was like, oh, she'd go bang, and it was just, she didn't even look at the target. It was just, did I hit it? And it was, she wanted to talk to everybody she wanted to be included in what the group was doing.
I actually had a similar conversation to that, and it wasn't gun related, but it was with my hairdresser. She's from small town, east town, and she just got married, and they're building a house. Her husband's not a rancher, but a farmer, and I'm like, you know how much crap people are going to drag into a show. Like, if you use your house as a legit shop and a house, how dirty. Because I've been in farm shops. You've been in farm shops. You know how, right? And we were talking about it, and she's like, and talking about, it's going to be right there for the kids. And she's like, yeah, that scares me. I'm like, think about it though. You grew up on a farm. Your brothers grew up on the farm. How often did they get hurt? She's like, never. I'm like, yeah, because they, from an early age, they knew what the limits were. They knew, don't go by the PTO. Not to walk around the back end of a horse. Like, pipe. Like you said, your daughter, yeah, she knew about guns. She also knew where to stand with a horse.
Yeah.
You bring city folk out, they get kicked in the head and break a jaw. And it's because we grew up with it. If you're immersed in it, you know exactly what it is. And that's, again, it goes back to, like I said, to start this whole conversation, the sooner you can introduce them to it, the better. It takes away the curiosity. They know what it does. They know how it works. I got in trouble once because it was deer season. My dad stopped at the gas station. My little brother was, loaded rifle in the back seat, and I started unloading it. And Dad's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Well, Davey was playing with it. I was just unloading it, so nothing happened." And he didn't know what to do because, one, we shouldn't be playing with it, but two, I was in the process of making it safe. So, but I was also like 9 or 10 years old, unloading a 243 in the bolt action in the backseat of the vehicle, which to most people would freak them out. But it's because I knew what it was. I knew how it operated. Like, if you don't know how it operates, you start messing with it. Even if you don't know how it works and you're trying to be correct and unload it, you can, it's the same. It'll go boom. For some reason, our buddy Duffy said when they used to have firearms day, they had one room where you went, you unloaded you unloaded, took the magazine out, unloaded it. You went to a different room to do the cleaning.
Yeah,
Which meant
because
no ammo comes in here, just like the Army does. No ammo comes in here. And if you know how to do that, it's safe. But when you don't understand that because you've never seen it before, you're like, yes, I was trying to make it safe, but I didn't know how it worked. I shot my hand. It's like I remember what pistols they are anymore, but where you have to like pull the trigger to actually get the slide off.
Oh, Glocks.
Dumbest concept in the world.
Glocks.
Why would you make them do that? Because 90% of the time, people, they don't know that. So it all comes back to the sooner you introduce them to it. It's just like farm kids that start driving at 8 years old. They can't even see over the steering wheel, but they can outdrive anybody.
I mean, again, you're talking about that. AR Drew commented here, at 10 years old, I had a shotgun or rifle in my closet and had the ammo, no issue.
Yeah.
And again, that comes down to how you're raised. Like you brought up the point of driving. At 7 years old, I was driving my dad's pickup, like our pickup, our primary means of transportation, from fields and stuff like that. I had my own motorcycle. I had a Honda 175, Enduro that I would stand on a 5-gallon bucket to jump on the kickstart and then get it running and then like run alongside it and Pony Express up onto that thing because I wasn't tall enough to stand on it and run the kickstand. But those were things that were, again, normal to some of us that were not to others, because there's kids who are virtuoso on the piano and I'm like trying to bang out chopsticks.
I think I can do like the like 3 on these, like, but yeah, like Drew says, I grew up, we had at our back door in the trailer, there was a shotgun and a rifle at all times. Why? I don't know, because that's just where we sat.
We had a shotgun inside the door of the house for as long as I could remember.
When our main door, we had 5 kids. It was me, my brother, and my 3 sisters, 2 stepsisters, and my sister. They were 3 months apart. And again, the only incident we ever had was when I shot my brother with a BB gun. Like even my sisters, they didn't use it right. They didn't use them as little kids. Yes, they got into hunting. Like 2 of the 3 have deer hunted and knew what to do. But we also knew, we knew what they could do because we've done it. You can take a life with it. And whether you're shooting a sparrow, a squirrel, a deer, a coon, whatever you're shooting, you understand it can take a life because you've done it. And that can be a lot for some people.
It can. And like, I'm going to change gears a little bit now and say now actually we're a little bit better off than what we were when like you and I were growing up. Because one, there are way more youth firearms available so that people of smaller statures can shoot, which is also one of the great things about, the AR is that you can actually get it down to be of a proper size for someone who is smaller to shoot it. And, one of the other great things about them is they'll accept, if you want to have that good control and everything, you can put VZ grips on it to enhance the control and handling. The unique feature of VZ grips is they're machined from a solid block of G10, and G10 is great because it's durable and doesn't get slippery when covered with mud, blood, or sweat. The 17-degree grip angle and a wide variety of textures from mild to extreme, as well as color options and shorty versions are available. 1911 grip features with extreme customizability, standard slim palm swells, thumb notches, safety kits, bottom profiles, and more. More than 25 textures and 27 colors are available, and there's one coupon code that is good for 15% off all handgun and rifle grips, and that code is AR-15 podcast. But John, I know that
John and Dusky, I think, hit on it here in the chat. John says, growing up we had glass front cabinet. I think we all did, because one, they were cheap and we didn't have a lot of money for in my generation growing up, but
you could open mine with a butter knife.
Yeah, 100%, because we didn't know where the key was. Nobody knew where the key was. The only difference, I think, between him and mine is our ammo was in the little drawer right behind, or just underneath it.
Yeah,
And
the pull-out drawer that was on
yeah,
the bottom.
or ours was in the pull out and just fold it down. But
Yeah.
but then we, like when I met my wife, current wife, and her kids, and the first thing I did was bought a safe instead of just leaving them in the corner of the bedroom. And then as time went on, we'd always make the joke that my wife knows how to get into the safe, but has no idea what to do. Our son doesn't know the code, but he knows how to use the firearms. He'd gone through shooter or hunter safety. He'd gone shooting with me, whether it was shooting clays or just going to the range and shoot. So I'm like, I don't know what they're gonna do if they need to get into if something happens, because we just made this whole thing a lot more complicated. But and again, like I said, we got to a point in my life growing up where we just stopped bringing firearms in the house, because then my mom didn't know we were buying what my dad was buying, and it was like, no, we've always had this. And yeah,
That was, again, growing up, we had all that stuff around and it was just kind of readily accessible. And that was, how you and I grew up. Now, looking at least in our area, and I know where we live is a lot different than a lot of other places. Like the prevalence of 4-H shooting sports. Like I
yep.
remember, this is one where I will say my daughter gets this from me. I remember going to do BB gun matches for 4-H and 4-H shooting sports when I was growing up, and I hated it. Not because I didn't like shooting. I loved shooting. I loved shooting BB guns. I loved all of it. It was so slow, plodding, and boring that I was just like, okay. And like we were allowed to load our own rifles, which is good, because like last year my daughter was in it, qualified for state and everything like that. But they aren't even allowed to load their own BB guns. The coach has to load it for them.
How do they know? Like that should be part of why you do it. Because then it's loaded. If somebody else loading it for you, I mean, yes, you should check. You should, again, war rules, firearm safety, treat every firearm as if they were loaded. But if I'm loading it, then I know it's loaded. I know what it's loaded with. Yeah, it's BB guns. It's different than, let's say we go to the range and you brought your 223. I brought my blackout, which uses the same mags, and all of a sudden a gun goes boom because one of us wasn't, we weren't doing what we should have been doing. So, but I go back to, you go back to like it wasn't so prevalent, I don't think, when we were in school, but the generation or the decade-ish before that, where they taught firearm safety in school. My high school still has, it's still there, it's just defunct, had a firing range behind the bleachers in the gymnasium.
Yeah.
You've seen it.
Yep.
There's a trap. This end, one of the ends, you would shoot, and it was the length of the basketball court, but they had a trap at the end of the other end of the pull or the back out bleachers for the upper deck of the gymnasium where you could shoot. It was a firing range, and I don't know how much it was used. I've never got into that, but it was built into the school. They taught this stuff, and again, it goes back to knowing what the weapon is capable of, what the tool is capable of. And I think that's where when you see I'm not even going to say the school shootings, because that's definitely somebody with just a mental break. They know what they're doing. They know what that tool
that's
is.
That's
why
mental,
they're doing it. It's
the
accidental shootings where 8-year-old shoots 4-year-old nephew or 4-year-old cousin or whatever because they find a firearm and start playing with it. That's the stuff that introducing them earlier fixes.
So, Drew, you talk about the Daisy Nationals being held in your town. Our local team has won them like 6 times.
So there's 2 teams in South Dakota that are really good here, and the Marshall County Shooters, which is Britain area. And this is a county of like 10 people. Like, and if I'm not, and correct me if I'm wrong, you might know better than I do, but you can only go to nationals like every other year. So like they actually got it set up in South Dakota where Pierre would go one year, Marshall County shooters to go the other year, so they weren't and they never competed against each other, so they could always try to had a better chance of bringing home that trophy. And it's
Yeah, like it's an amazing group of youth shooters, and like I am truly proud of all of them, and they really do an amazing job. And it's again, it is the BB gun, and they do air pistols and all of that, but the fact that they have won so much and have done so many things for it really speaks high to how good they are.
well, there's
And
a part of that. Those kids, those rifles have been around forever and have been so fine-tuned that
they had a deal where they would roll the BBs to go through and figure out through everything. AR Drew, it's generally done through 4-H. So contact your local extension office and find out about 4-H, and then get into 4-H shooting sports. And then Daisy has the program in conjunction with them.
And if you come up here, we don't even have to buy the whiskey. I've already got it all.
I between us.
Oh,
But you know what, Joe? Are you in need of a reliable custom Kydex holster?
I am actually. Yes. Hey, Kelker, get a hold of me. I need one.
Yep. Klecker Tactical is one-stop shop. Using premium USA source material, Klecker Tactical will build you a holster in a variety of styles and colors, along with light and laser options. Whether you're in law enforcement, a competitive shooter, or an everyday gun enthusiast, trust that Klecker Tactical will provide every firearm owner that has access to top-tier and personalized holsters, as well as quality and custom products that you can't find anywhere else. And you can use code AR-15 podcast for 10% off at Klecker Tactical. And yes, with that, guys, I've actually been running some of these, and I have an appendix rig that is great. And they are, the appendix rig is solid. And I've even had switched over, which he will make you holsters in the proper rapid switch, which is the RTI. Not that bullshit Safariland QLS, but I will die on that hill. Jeremy from We Like Shooting and I will die on this hill.
No, I need to get one of them. I need to get one for my 365 fuse crossover build that I did.
Yes, and I've been enjoying that. I will say this is nothing against his or their build or anything like that. I did take a heat gun to my appendix holster today. Not because it didn't fit, not because it didn't work, but because I added a light to an X macro, and I already had a light-bearing 365 XL holster. And I realized all it needed to do was just push out a little bit, and I could use the same holster for both. So when I ran the heat gun out, I got it to. Everything still has good retention on both, but the X macro worked with my TLR1 sub light, and my 365 XL works with it as well.
Nice.
Which was super awesome to me. And Klecker's watching right now, and he says he just got the new Blade Tech mounts and is really digging.
What's the new ones? I don't think I've seen them yet. Do you know? Or do we have to have Klecker explain it?
Well, I furiously Google here. One of the other things that we have locally is we have an amazingly active
disc, kind of like that G-Force or was that one you were running in Arizona?
Well, I had the RTI, then I also had I had a Blackhawk that was
you had a disc one. I borrowed it.
That was the Blackhawk.
Okay.
Here it is. I have the Tech mount is what they have showing.
Okay.
And I will share the screen here so everyone can see what we're talking about. But one of the things that I will say we do locally that may be better than everyone else. So here you go. You can see it has the circle that you can push in and then lock it in.
Yeah,
And that
especially if
looks
you're
like you could,
swapping. If you're swapping, if you run different weapons, different firearms, and
yeah,
you have one mount, and you can just put on your actual holster the same
yep.
one
It's the
receiver
mounting
for
system.
different ones. Yeah,
And
that's.
now I'm gonna have to play with this because this looks like you could actually even change the angle.
Mm-hmm. Well, he
Like if you
says 10% rotation, 10-degree rotation with a 360-degree positioning. So
that is super rad. I may have to play with that. It's going to be really hard to get me to give up my RTI disc though. Like I even
yeah,
have a spare one right here. But no, I ran that. Locally here, one of the things we have that is, I think, a boon to a lot of people is we have a incredibly active high school trap club. And
yeah.
trap shooting is actually the second largest sport in the state of South Dakota. The
It's one of the largest sports in the
no, it
country. At one time, it was until they started sanctioning girls wrestling. It was one of the fastest. It was the fastest, I believe, the fastest growing sport. I know that group, I can't remember what the one that Pierce started with. I don't know if they're still using it, but it was they had more
well the
participants
only
exposed to high school sports, like that's counting football,
the only
basketball,
the,
volleyball.
the only more popular sport in South Dakota is football.
I bet it's rodeo.
No,
Football.
it's when you count all the East River, they don't have that. But
There's a few out there. You know, like some of them small towns like Clear Lake, Doland.
oh, I know,
I
but
have
I'm
anything
just
else to
saying,
do? They wrestle cows and
as
just
of right now, the American Clays like high school has 53,000 registered,
yeah.
53,250
I had my
red,
I had Tyson in
registered.
it the first 2 years that he was eligible. But with other sports and stuff that he'd been in his whole life, we let it go. But yeah, it was huge. I know, like when it first started in South Dakota, there was like 6 teams. Pierre had like double what everybody else had, and it is slowly caught up. But
Yeah, now they're like our local team is at almost 200
yeah,
kids. Where
and
they're at the point
well,
of like,
what really helped us, especially in Pierre, is we had a girl in junior high at the time who was like a nationally ranked ATA shooter, American Trap Association. And this girl was like, she averaged like 49 out of her because they shot 50 and she was like lights out
lights out.
until she got to the state tournament that very first year. She made I remember hearing her say, she's like, yeah, I had test anxiety because she like bombed at state, but she was like a whole week ahead of everybody else in the standings. Like she could have taken a week off and still won the regular season, but she spent a lot of time, I think, like in Arizona in the winter or something like that with her family, and that's all they did down there was shoot. Like she made the comment one time, I think, that she shot like 500 rounds a day, which I don't. Even if you're reloading, I don't know how you afford that. And then you've
Well, you
got
buy lead by the ton.
yeah, it's ridiculous, but she was like lights out. And I don't want to brag, but I don't know if it's Riverwater or what it is, but Pierre has always, regardless of the sports, it seems like been pretty good. So
Also, this is for Dusky, so he can see the radio running. Because I know he'll be excited about the BF Pro. But no, we do have in individual sports we have always done exceedingly well.
we've had a pretty good football team, but yeah, and we've got some. If you're not familiar with some of the people we send out of this stupid town, we've got 2 that are probably going to be drafted this year by the NFL. We've got 1 that's sitting in Ohio State. We had 1 kid drafted out of high school by major leagues. Like we got some pretty good kids.
And also on the shooting side, we've had 4 junior Olympians. And like
Yeah.
our little town in the middle of nowhere kind of comes with authority when it comes to this stuff. And we do a lot of stuff with it, and that's not us trying to brag about where we live.
And
It's
going back to the very beginning of this podcast where we started, it comes down to the youth programs and how soon we're introducing these kids to whatever it is they're doing, whether it's the wrestling team, whether it's playing football, why football, whether it's shooting, whether they're playing basketball or volleyball or what they're doing. We have such a good group of adults that will take care of these kids at the first introduction they have to it. And
yes,
it's amazing. And it so, to tie into our topic, like, it doesn't matter what you're putting your kids into, start them early, but allow them to have that variety of stuff. Don't focus, don't pigeonhole them into one sport. Make
correct.
sure they're able to do other things. And yeah, you can have your best sport. You're gonna have your number one sport, whether it's hockey. I mean, we have a girl, my neighbor, who's probably gonna good chance she ends up in the PWHL.
Yeah,
Like, she is
that is a very true statement. She just
in
scored her 100th and 101st goal as a varsity
it's
player.
because she was introduced to a very good system at a very young age. So this leads into, if you want your kids to be good at something, they need good mentors, which means be there for them, be a part of the youth programs, whether it's shooting, whether it's wrestling, basketball, whatever you did when you were little, volunteer those hours so that the next generation can do that. The more time they spend playing video games and not being involved with their friends, not being involved with adults that care and are good examples, is how we end up with half of the society that we have right now. And again, we said it
It
last week.
starts at home. It
We don't
starts at
want to get
home.
political. It doesn't even start at home. If single
Well,
mom
no,
is doing what she can to get her son or her daughters into an event, they need the adult volunteers to do it. It may not pay you anything, but I guarantee you, when you watch a kid that you were coaching or training their
there's
first
pride
2 to
there.
3 years, and then you see them in high school winning state championships or going on to play D1 whatever, or any of
Well,
that stuff, you're
when
gonna
I
have
say
that.
it starts at home, I'm not trying to be like, oh, it has to be the immediate family. It's
Yeah.
you have
Yeah,
to
I
be.
know.
It's having the willingness to support your children to do this
Mhm.
is where I say it starts at home. It starts with somebody being willing to support and help and do the right, or like I'm not gonna say do the right thing, but to help and do the things to you know foster and teach and help with train and help them grow. And that's where this comes up, and you can do that across the way. I know that what we put on this as a title, or what I did, was age appropriate training, and we didn't get into that. Was probably a subjective line, because it was never going to be like, oh, at 12 you should start them shooting USPSA, and that's not what I was trying to do, because again, maturity levels are there. I know 40-year-old men who should not be shooting USPSA because they're not mature enough to do it.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, like, you hit it right on the nose. It comes down to the maturity level of the individual, and even if you can't teach them, who can?
yeah,
Do you
100%.
know somebody that you can get them to that will show them the right way to do it? And it doesn't have to be firearms. It doesn't have to be sports. It can be whatever your kid is interested in.
It could be
Like,
baking. Like, legitimately, like, baking, cooking, sewing, and all of those things. Those are super solid things to have.
yeah, get your. I think regardless of what the kid wants to do, the earlier you can introduce them to anything. And I've always said, unfortunately, for myself, I don't have any of my own kids. I didn't meet my stepkids until my daughter was like 8. My son was in junior high, and the oldest one was late junior high or high school. But if your kid wants to try something different every year, this year they want to do the saxophone. Next year they want, like, screw that, I want to play hockey. And then like, nah, I want to go play soccer. Let them, because if you may be saying no to your kid on the 8th time they decide to try something, and that may be where they're a savant. The greatest quarterback that could ever have lived may have grown up in Uganda and never had a chance to throw a football. The greatest hockey player in the world may have grown up in China and never had a chance to put on skates. The greatest shooter in the world may have grown up in California and never been allowed to have a gun.
Yeah. And I mean, that's just an unfortunate byproduct of communism.
Yeah.
But, hopefully we can fix that. But no, the one thing we don't need to fix, and that's patches with Patriot Patch Company. Patriot Patch, patriotpatch.co. Get your morale patches. Get your, I have some neat metal signs, the Patch of the Month Club, all those things. Thanks to Jake and the gang over there for all of the hard work they do.
This month's Patch of the Month Patch of the Month is pretty sweet. Plays on some Valentine's Day stuff. He sent the teaser out to those of us that are subscribed to it. And yeah, if you're not a subscriber to that, I mean, it's worth it. You get a cool patch every month that no one else can buy. You get
you can't buy it.
Throws in some extra stickers. Sometimes extra patches show up because he needs to get rid of some junk. Like, yeah.
Also, like, Jake is a good dude. I've met Jake in person. Like, Jake has taken classes from me.
Poor guy.
And so have you, so you can't really talk.
I took them because the state made me take them so I could have certain things.
I'm not going to say that's not the reason why he did the same, but
yeah.
No. Yeah, it's Patriot Patch, patriotpatch.co. Guys, go check them out. Jake is the one who started the whole Firearms Radio Network. If anyone didn't know that he is the guy who started it, and then he escaped communism in Illinois and moved to South Dakota.
I think more people need to move back into communist states so we can try to liberate them, but that's a whole different topic on a whole different podcast.
Yeah, this is just, I'm like, hey, he's okay. Like, we'll take him. But like the rest of everyone, like, we're
kind of like our daywalker here in town that came from Oregon, like
California.
I thought he was further north.
No,
he came from commie West Coast.
No,
he's like,
he was born there and then lived in California. So much so that when he moved to South Dakota, his like, oh, I can finally have this gun that wasn't on the roster in California was a revolver.
I remember the first time he showed up for 3 Gun, and he's running a pump 20 gauge and a Glock. And
the first time he showed up, he ran his TRR-8 38 special.
We still haven't got him broke on all of that stuff. Like, he's still running like nylon drop holsters, and man, we need to help him out. Klecker, get a hold of him. We'll give you his contact information.
We'll make some stuff happen. Like, now he's like a CZ fanboy like you, though.
Yeah, I wish I could shoot my CZ more. That Shadow 2 it's like a Porsche. It's so smooth shooting. Why the Army had to go with SIG, I'll never know. But
and that's why I shoot my SIGs, because
that's the only reason I leave it in the safe and shoot the SIGs is because I like shooting the military matches, and I need to waste rounds on other stuff.
Some of us have to stay proficient with that stupid M17. Otherwise, I would have a Beretta 92 XI.
Oh, I've got my Shadow. I'd probably have a Parrot, and I know I would have had a TSO Orange.
92 XI, 1000%. I want one of those so bad. I own a lot of SIGs.
So my guard unit was given away at 320, and if I'd have won it because I already got like 3 in the safe, I was gonna buy a flux just to run that, and that was gonna be my PCC gun this year if I had to do it. But unfortunately, I didn't win, so now I gotta go buy a different PCC. But yeah, that Flux Raider, like, as long as
It hits
nobody
different.
put your tinfoil hats on quick, make sure nobody else is listening. But how they get away with that front mag or extra
Release
mag holder?
The mag holder. Dirt Racer, you're wrong.
Yeah, I don't know why anybody wants a Glock. Like, the only thing Glock has going for it, they were first to market. Like, they perfected what they did first, and they haven't done anything to improve
perfection. Like, you get Glock perfection after you dump $1,000 into your gun.
Yeah, but they also perfected masturbating horses. So
that is a fair point, and that comment will get you kicked out of SHOT Show.
I know it will. It'd be worth it. They do 3 things. They make watches, right? That's the other one.
They do make possibly the and there's Klecker. So Klecker, I was an M&P guy for a long time. My first polymer gun was an M&P.
Yep. I'm the same way. I still have a shield. I still have my shield.
I still have all my M&Ps.
I sold mine. I went when I was gonna go to CZ, and then the Army made me go to SIG.
I just realized I have never. Well, my wife sold one of her pistols, but other than that, I have never sold a pistol that was mine.
I donated one. I donated a bodyguard to the unit Christmas party to give away because I wanted a Christmas party and didn't shoot it. I love my Smith & Wesson 1522. Like, that thing is so much fun to shoot.
Dusky, my boy. Yes,
it's probably a shotgun. So yeah, we need to know what one it is. You ordered a Beretta. That's like saying I bought a Ford.
Yeah, I don't know. I really the single action only 92 XI, like, that thing speaks to me in a way that is dirty. But we are starting to get tremendously off topic as we just randomly talk about guns with everyone in the chat.
Well, I mean, we hit what we were going to hit. If we random, I don't think anybody. We're getting a lot of reaction. Let them.
Well, it's normal for us as well. And but do you have any parting words for anyone on getting your when to get your kids into guns? Again, I think it's like I'll let you have the closing words. I'm going to start with, I think comes down to maturity levels. What when your kid's ready to move on, when you think they're mature enough to do something. And generally you start them before they're really ready, because you're like, oh no, they can do it, because you're excited to go do something with them. I know I did that. And it is definitely, like, the last summer, my daughter shot her first couple USPSA matches with us. And this year she wants to do it again. But it's a Tomcat. So Beretta Tomcats are cool. Tilt barrels are neat. But I think it comes down to, again, don't push them into doing something, but don't hold them back either.
I agree. It's let them know what it is. They need to know what the tool is. It can take a life. Even if you don't intend to, it can take a life. They need to know that. If you have firearms in your house, especially if you have one by the bedside for home defense or stuff like that, you need to tell them what they are and why they shouldn't be played with. And you need to show them what they're capable of to get rid of that curiosity. And then when the time comes, when they show the interest, shower it. Just give them all the time. Don't force it on them, definitely, because way too many kids get turned off on that. But
also,
go ahead.
Oh no, there's one other thing I'm going to comment on this. Don't be a jackass. Same goes for I'm going to do this where it's not just teaching your kids. This is if you're taking your girlfriend or your wife or lady friend or maybe your boyfriend out for the range for the first time. Don't think it's funny when you hand them a 44 Magnum and don't tell them how to hold it
Don't
properly.
do that.
I'm saying,
No,
do not do that. Like, don't be that asshole.
100%. Okay, I'm gonna. If you don't know who he is or you don't pay attention to stuff, Brandon Herrera has a channel on Pepperbox. I think it's on YouTube. What is it? His Darwin Awards. And that's
Yes.
one of the biggest things that he harps on is you take a 103-pound little girl to the range in a whatever she's wearing to look cool, and the round ends up between her chest, in her chest, and then all of a sudden she's flagging everybody with her finger on the trigger. Like, don't do that. If you really want your significant other or a coworker or a child to understand what you're doing and you want them to grow to
Enjoy it.
different extremes, start them with a 22 long rifle. I don't care if it's a rifle, if it's a handgun, whatever. Teach them, even I'll back it up even beyond that. If you want to teach them how to do something, do it with a cert. Do it with a dry fire laser type training aid so they can understand how it works and what it does. Then take them to the range and teach them live fire with the smallest caliber you have available. And if the smallest thing you have is not meant for somebody that doesn't know what they're doing, don't take them. Start small, get them used to just drawing, indexing, firing multiple rounds, still having rounds in the magazine, coming back safely, taking their finger off the trigger, and either holstering or setting the weapon down. Once they understand that, and once they're comfortable with that, then you can move them up to a higher powered center fire rifle, whether it's a 9mm or a 44 or 45. It's not cool to take somebody that's never shot a handgun and the first thing you hand them is a DE-50.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Also,
do you any good.
What Klecker's talking here about, what about secretly loading a 3.5-inch mag 12 gauge slug into your buddy's 590M? Bang, bang, boom.
I'd do that. If they know it's your buddy's firearm,
would I do that to Joe? 1,000%.
Yeah.
Would I do that to my wife? No.
That's the thing. Yeah, doing something like that to your buddy who thinks he's cool, like it's like, yeah, I'm gonna mess with Nick. I'm gonna mess with Garth. I'm gonna mess with my buddies, but I'm not gonna do it to somebody that I'm trying to introduce to the sport and be a good person. It's the same thing. If you're at the range and you see somebody doing something wrong, or you see somebody the last time I was at range, I'm still pissed at myself because I was shooting. Kid, not really a kid, but much younger than I am, comes in. If you're our range, we've got 2 pistol bays. There's probably 4 lanes per bay. He's like, "Hey, mind if I shoot here?" And I'm like, "Yeah, no, that's fine." And when I was shooting, he would wait because I wasn't just shooting, but he was like one-handing a 10mm Glock, like, and trying to fire it. And I still kick myself because I didn't say, "Hey, would you like some pointers on how to hold your firearm?" Because even when he had both hands on it, he did not have a good grip. And I seriously, as a 2A advocate, as somebody who's sitting on a podcast is talking about firearms, I kick myself because I didn't take the time to ask this guy, "Hey, would you like some pointers? Would you like some help on this?" And teach him what proper grip, show him what proper grip is. And he may have said, "Nah, I just like to do this." Like, cool. But I could have helped him. I didn't go to the other extreme where I ridiculed him or I tried to take a sneak peek, like video it and try to post it on Facebook or something and be like, "Hey, look at this retard." No, I went with the middle road. I wish I would have went with, "Hey, can I help you with this?" Because
Yeah, and
That's what we need in the community is, hey, if you see somebody doing something wrong, don't be an asshole about it, but say, hey, can I help you with this? Can I show you something that might be better?
yeah, and sometimes I have a problem with that. Like, it's like, oh, hey, like the instructor twitch gets me, and I can't stop myself, and then I'm that annoying guy at the range. I think you've seen me do that.
And sometimes though, but you have to. It's read the room. Just hey,
Yep.
are you interested in? Can I help? Can I
I
show you
don't
something?
ever make anyone learn
No, and again, I
unless
feel
they're
like
wearing the uniform.
just because of just like the little bit of communication I did have with him between we were shooting, I feel like he'd have been very receptive to accepting help, and I didn't offer it. And I hate myself as, again, like you said, as a trainer, as a coach, as a leader
Advocate.
or advocate or a professional or influencer in this realm. I should have done more than I did, and it crossed my mind, and I'm like, nah, I'm about done here. He's in as driving away, and I'm like, it sucks. Hindsight being 2020, I am so hopefully I run into the kid again while I'm out there, and I can say, hey, you wanna you want because he's just standing at 25-yard line. Just I'm like, you want to just know some drills that
So, anyways, I started blasting type thing.
yeah, that's what he was doing. Like I could have been like, hey, so take your time. Like, yeah, it's cool to mag dump, but wait until like, you want to learn how to mag dump all of them into the, like a a
Yeah.
Copenhagen can or a soup can type area. That's even cooler.
Nope. So, were those your? I see that somebody finally read your.
It's like 3 times now where I've thrown something up there. That's the first person or the first time we've had anybody comment on them. I
Yeah.
have a whole bunch of stuff. Like every time I come up with something, I put it in a note, and I plan to try to switch it up every podcast to something a little different on my tagline there.
Yes. But with that, I think that was your closing remarks, Joe.
Yeah, help the community, and that starts from when your kid can start crawling to just random strangers at the range that if you can tell it's their first time with a firearm, help them out.
Yep. And that is very much so a thing. And here we go. Yep. John says, his 13-year-old nephew came for a visit last summer and had a suppressed range day. 22 and 9 pistols and rifles definitely sparked an interest for him. A suppressed 22 might be the best thing to ever have somebody shoot his new.
You don't even have to suppress it. I grew up shooting 22s without ear pro, and I guarantee you that's not the reason I have a hearing profile.
But no, I agree. But a suppressed 22 just is so nice.
It's just because it's the closest thing you can get to movie silenced.
Yeah,
Hollywood silence.
But hey, guys, so as we close out tonight, make sure you check us out. Hit up our social medias. We are AR-15 Podcast 2.0 on Instagram, AR-15 Podcast 2.0 on YouTube, the AR-15 Podcast on YouTube. If you just want to drop us a line, hit up AR-15 Podcast 2.0 at gmail.com.
Ooh, hey, you know what? If you really want to drop us a line, should we give him Garth's phone number?
Well, not tonight.
Okay. Hey, keep tuning in. Maybe at some point we'll give you Garth's phone number.
Yes, that is the thing. I think he would enjoy hearing from some of you.
I can only imagine his face the time when we like, hey, try this 605, blah 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 blah.
If you're really unlucky, we'll give you his Snapchat handle.
You don't want that.
Nope. But no, everyone out there, you guys know what I'm going to say is remember this, everyone. It is quite a and here we go. AR Drew just threw a super chat in and says great show, everyone. So thank you so much for that again.
Hey, we do our best.
And John, yes, that is why John says don't know if I missed it, but is anyone going to Rapid this weekend? Yes, Garth will be at the stock show this weekend.
So find the loud bearded guy. It's probably him.
Well, I think they're planning on meeting up. But I know that the rest of us will not be there.
I have drill on the other side of the state.
I
Nice
have
classes.
I have classes and hockey games for my daughter here that I get to go to, so I'm excited to do that. But no, and everyone out there, you know what I'm about to say, and that is no one is coming to save you. Expect to self-rescue. And you are your own first responder. Go out, get training, get medical training. Make sure that you can use the tools you have. And you folks out there, you stay safe and stay armed. Support the people who support the show. Primary on.